Oh, it had to be. Hello, can you listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, somehow. Uh, okay, so can you just see? Can you just see this? I'm sharing. Can you see this? The screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
now,
sir.
yeah. Okay. Now let me speak. So today we will be speaking about, while we read this text, one very important thing we have to take care of is uh, the theory that is called Orientalism by Edward Said. Had I talked about it in detail in earlier class, any of the earlier class, have I talked it in detail about Orientalism? I think I haven't. So let me introduce to you the theory of Orientalism. The theory was given by none other than the famous social critic and philosopher uh, Edward Said. Often you people pronounce it as Said. No, he is from the Middle East, and his theory is called Orientalism, and his name is correctly pronounced as Edward Said. Okay, so uh, the theory generally moves around a very interesting concept. The concept is that the whole world is divided into two hemispheres, the West and the Orient, or the East. ইস্টটাকে এখানে ওরিয়েন্ট বলা হচ্ছে, বোঝা গেল? So what is Orient? According to Said, the concept of Orient is not about what Orient is not about what Orient is, that is what the East is. That is generally Orient বলতে আমরা কতগুলো specific part কে বোঝাই, like the Middle East, the Indian continent, and the Mongolian continent, like China and other parts of Mongolia, the Java, Sumatra. Generally, these parts, the Middle East, like different, specifically the Islamic countries, they consist the Orient. And Edward Said says that the concept about these countries are based on not much regarding how they are, but regarding what they are about, or how they are seen. Okay, the main thing is how they are seen. So, from the very beginning, from the very beginning of the colonization, yes, it's a post-colonial theory. It emerged as Edward Said's Orientalism emerged as a resistance to colonialism. So, when the colonialism started, what was the main purpose of the colonials? The main purpose of the colonials was that they wanted to settle in the East in search of resources, in search of market. And therefore, the approach was very interesting. In one hand, the East was represented as a land which was full of gold and natural resources. It was rich, almost like the American content of Machu Picchu, or the myth of El Dorado, the land of the gold. And the Eastern countries were almost represented like that these are the land of the gold. There are so many natural resources, minerals, trees, plants, crops, okay, as well as human resources, labors. But the only difference was that while El Dorado was thought to be very developed European mythical island, these Eastern countries or Eastern lands were depicted as rich but under civilized, dwelt by uh, under civilized people, uncouth people, those even who cannot be ruled by their kings, those whose educations are full of superstitions, their customs and rituals are full of superstitions. And the very, interesting thing was that for Christianity, anything that was not Christian or a non Christian thing was easily termed as pagan. But if you trace the origin of civilization, from the very beginning, each and every civilization had been pagan at one stage. And those who have not accepted Christianity are still pagan. And the very interesting thing is that, according to the Christians, with paganity comes underdevelopment. With paganity comes uh, scarcity of thoughts, scarcity of philosophy. So, two things they said. One, these people are not properly customed, their religion is not effective for them. So, they should be brought under the umbrella of Christianity. So, in one hand, while they were doing their colonization and whatever you may say, on the other hand, they were also doing they were also doing religious preaching. Okay, okay. Let me just mute it for once. Okay, let me just mute it for once. Okay. Something very interesting happened to me. A phone call came to my wife asking for my ATM pin, and they were asking that my ATM card will be blocked. And it happened so that they asked for the pin of my SBI ATM card, whereas I do not have any account in SBI. So please uh, be prepared for any kind of things. These types of frauds are being done everywhere. Okay, so that's why I had to mute. Sorry, I had to speak to that person. Okay, click to return to the video call when you want to stop meeting. Okay, so now you can see this. So what were I? The thing is that this is what that they were doing. They were doing, in one hand, they were doing religious preaching. On the other hand, they were doing the political thing, the business thing that you know they had done in the name of East India Company and in the name of colonization. So, if you think about India, just think what the world knew about India during those days, at least at the very early days of colonization. They knew about India what they were being told by this colonizers, because we do not before or even when the colonization started, you can understand that we did not have that large contact with the world. We didn't have that large uh, access to the world which the colonizers had. And it was very important how India was being represented. And not only India, for each and every part of the world, or rather of the Orient, which were being colonized, it was really an important question how they were getting represented. Mainly, if you think, Edward Said had worked on the Middle East, and if you think about that, Said has said that Middle East was being represented by the paintings they were being to us, rather that were being uh, taken away from them to the European countries, uh, or rather by the clothes, the utensils, the coins, the golden things, all these things, and it was taken there in Europe to assure people of the richness of the country. And in those pictures, Said has said that look at how in a picture it is represented that the palace where the kings and the people live there are rich with properties, golden utensils, pictures. But look at the men. First and foremost, they are essentially black. They are scarcely clothed, especially the women's were represented having very beautiful figure. And it was said that women in the rather in the Middle East or in the Orient, they hardly wore any clothes. So think how lusciously they were represented. The male, they were in most cases, they were black, they were devilish looking. So it was easy to say that these people are uncouth. And I say that at the very early stage of civilization, any non-Christian civilization was pagan. And therefore, it was easy for them to term that although these civilizations are rich in wealth, these civilizations are really poor in case of civilization, in case of education, in case of customs, it is superstitious, and therefore they need to be civilized. They need to be converted. And now it is our pious duty in the name of Christianity to go and colonize there. Why? Because we need to civilize them. And they came, and you know what they did. So Said was saying this, that they were ultimately grabbing the economy of these countries. Ultimately, they were politically controlling over the administrator of these countries, and these people were creating a specific image of the West, specific image of the East in the West. So what the Western people knew about these Eastern countries were all depending on the narratives of these colonizers. And these narratives were, according to Said, always biased. So when decolonization started, critics like Said started saying that, or they started speaking about the cultural and economic manipulation that was done by the colonizers on the colonized in order to assure overall control over them. And they started saying this point of view is unjust, or rather unjustified, because they were built from one-sided view. The Orient, quote unquote, or the East needed to be represented not only from the point of view of the Westerns, but also the point of view of the people living here. And obviously, Said had acknowledged that language was a great problem because uh, in throughout the world, the only language they could choose to narrate their status, to narrate their reality to the outer world, was also the language of the colonizers. However, I will come when you will be I will be teaching you post-colonization or post-colonialism in sixth semester. I will be speaking you about this language manipulation theory, or rather, how language nowadays is being a tool of cultural resistance. But now we will focus on Edward Said. The Said had said that a cultural resistance is needed, and that's why Orientalism is essentially a post colonial theory, a theory that helps in decolonization, that is, to lessen the effect of colonization, to resist the cultural manipulation that were done by the colonized people. Okay. Edward Said, in his Orientalism, has largely said that the concept of the Orient which the European has built is a one sided narrative which only helps in socio-cultural, economic, and political manipulation, and convince the people that this was done for the good of these people. But it had a purpose very different. The purpose was utterly professionally political. So Said said in Orientalism that, rather, in Orientalism, he criticized Orientalism, that Orientalism is not a proper way to look at the East. He said that the East has its own culture, its own civilization, its own knowledge, its own theories, its own philosophies, its own science. Where are they in the representations of the Europeans? They are never being mentioned. Therefore, Said said that Orientalism, according to the Eastern, or sorry, according to the Western critics, should be rejected, should be rejected, and Oriental itself should voice for it. So, here also, in this particular comic novel, Orientalism, or the concept of Orientalism, becomes very evident, I would say. We would see a process rather, which is a very transparent process, or which is a process in transition, I would say, where we would find rather a decolonization of Orientalism itself. How? For this, we have to start from the earlier class where we had started. Like I had said, that before you read Tintin in Tibet, you read Tintin and the Cigar of the Pharaoh. I hope you have read. So there you can find how India has been represented as a people, as a country which is ruled by people, kings, and generally dwelt by poor people who are in most of the cases drug peddlers and notorious criminals. They really, the king is a representative or the helper of the colonizers, which has been dealt sympathetically there, and those who are against the colonizers are termed as criminals, drug peddlers, black magicians. But suddenly, in the last class, I had told you that here India is mentioned and represented in a very different way. Harj has mentioned about the really rich artistic past of India by mentioning several uh, ancient constructions that are historically renowned. We had seen how India is growing technologically strong. There is the mention of airport, Indian Air Force, Air India. There is the mention of an economy where people were thriving not on the kings, but they could make themselves progress if they had the credibility. And the very example of it was car on a rent. That means it was not provincialized, it was not limited to the access of the rich people only. Those who could manage the fare, they could obviously take a ride on a rented car. But so you can see in while Harsh was representing colonized India, he was with the colonizers. He sympathized with the colonizers. And India was shown as a rich country, people or a country having great human resources, but people were shown as uncouth who could not be ruled. Therefore, the king really seeks the help of Tintin in order to make them civilized. That means Harj almost said that it is the pious duty of the colonizers to make these people civilized. On the other hand, in this text, while he is representing the independent India, suddenly his approach has changed. Now, India has been seen as one who is progressing technologically, which has a very rich architectural past, a very rich history. Even there is the mention of Gandhi, and the social change was also mentioned. But do you think the Orientalist in Hajj, or rather, the Orient in Hajj, was not there? Do you think that? I think if you think that Hajj had completely changed himself, then it will be wrong. Let us do something. Let us look at the comic representation, because not only the representation in a graphic novel, you have to see it. The representation in a graphic novel can not only be found in the dialogue box, but also are found in the pictures. Okay, anyone please open the mic and say if he or she can see these pictures.
হ্যাঁ স্যার দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
দেখতে পাচ্ছ? So just look.
Yes, sir, দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
Okay. Just look at this. 3 hours have passed. They had seen so many beautiful architectures. Okay, now look at the things. We have just got time to hop into a taxi. I had told the mention of rented car and make a dash to the airport. So suddenly they are saying that hello, there is a crowd down there. What is going on? A fight or an accident? ইউরোপে হলে যেটা accept করা খুব স্বাভাবিক. But now suddenly the crowd is for a cow, or rather whatever has been যেটাকে দেখে cow এর থেকে ষাঁড় বেশি মনে হচ্ছে, but still a cow. She certainly chosen a good spot, completely blocking the roadway. So look at this. There is a crowd. The crowd is not interested in just making the cow walk away from that spot where she has chosen to rest herself. And that is the other India that has been represented. India that worships animals. So again, the paganism is represented. Look, I say, can't someone move the old girl along? We are rather in a hurry. Sacred cow sahib, do not disturb. You wait, still she moves. So again, India is represented as a country that worships cow, a cow worshipping country, and that wait, that's a useful suggestion. Our plane leaves in 25 minutes. So you can say just how our heritage, how our customs are coming into the way of a technically updated, speedy society. In a technically upgraded, speedy society, people will move fast, and there such ritualistic considerations like waiting for a cow until she moves will obviously come into the way of progress. So look how it is being said that whatever is being developed is European, and whatever is Indian is coming into the way of the development. Okay, so this is what you can see throughout the novel, how Orient is represented. And now, anyway, no need to worry if she won't move, we will just step over her. So think what the European is doing. Uh, I am not going to criticize it from any point of view, any political point of view, but this is how, where while you progress, while you think about making a scientific progress of the society, and if you still hold on or stick on to the rituals of the past, which are in general worthless, you will find these things coming into each other's way. So therefore, I leave you in your consideration, or rather, if I would have been asked that what you prefer, I will say I prefer scientific progress. But here, obviously, it is the representation of Orient from the part of Hajj that these people in the Orient are still uh, prone to leave their ancient uh, superstitions, and this comes into the way of the progress. That is what Hajj wants to say. Okay, so you can think there, and what I criticize is that there are so many things to represent. There are so many things to represent. Yes, there are so many hindrances also. But while you represent a nation, much focus should be given on the better thing. So that is what I say. The Orientalism criticizes that. Okay, if we have the cow, if we have the cow, we also have Arjobhatto. Where is the representation of that? If we have a cow blocking the road, we also have the mathematical equations represented in our Vedas. Where are they? If you want to highlight it, you will highlight the cow incident, but you will not highlight the scientific progress that we had made ourselves. On the other hand, whatever scientific progress you will mention, that will be, or that will have a European impression of it. Look, they are showing their cars, they are showing the aeroplanes, but they are not mentioning industrialists like Jamshedji Tata, who had lived during that time. So they are not mentioning Indian things, they're not mentioning the beautiful things that India has. They're criticizing India, and whatever progress has been made here, you can see the progress are almost made in the shadow of Europeanism. Even look at the rickshaw, just look at this. Look at the structure of the rickshaw. It's almost depicted as a form of tricycle. Look at this. আমাদের দেশে রিক্সা এরকম দেখতে হয় না. So you can understand that still Hajj could not just go outside of his Oriental consideration. Although he had said he had accepted that India is emerging as a superpower, his consideration was that that only happened because India had a 300 years old of European past, and that has helped India to improve. Whereas anything that belongs to India's past, whatever India has retained from that, are coming into the way of the progress. Okay, so this is represented, and this scene. Look, it is very important. It is very important. The two things. First, these two things are very important. In one hand, we see that Haj is criticizing the Indianness of India. On the other hand, he is also not, rather, he is also agreeing that India is becoming a superpower. How? Look, we have read several instances from the colonial past of the British, and we could see how they were looked upon. Even a mere minimum rank holder of the British Army or the British administration, even minimum a person who has white hair and whose name is Christian, without having any proper administrative post, just because he is privileged to born in Europe, people were getting due importance in India. And we could not think about in colonized India just ignoring them. We could delay every work in order to make them some scope. But look at this place. Tintin and Haddock have met or have been late for reaching to the airport, and this Indian pilot is saying, look at his turban, his mustache, his beard is essentially Indian. And he's saying, can't be helped, it's time for takeoff. Too bad for two missing passengers. So now the plane is taking off, and look at this. These two are running. So this is a very important picture that the maybe India is progressing. Whatever India will do in their own guts, they are no more to give priority to the Europeans. But on the other hand, also it is said that whatever progress has been made had been made because of the impact of the colonial past of 300 years. So these two are very contradictory thing I find very interesting in the Oriental representation of this uh, book. Okay, and the next thing, China. Look at this. The picture of Kathmandu the next morning. This is Kathmandu. The plane is going past. The plane is not going past any high rise, which is expected in Europe. ইউরোপে যদি প্লেনের ছবিটা দেখো দেখবে these are essentially Oriental thing, these are essential representations of the Orient. When you read this type of text, see you need to just see how not only in the dialogue box but also in the paintings, or also in the comics, also in the pictures, they are representing the East. So while it would have been any Western country, you could find here the plane will be going past some high rises. But look at this. This is a representation of the famous Pashupati Mandir in Kathmandu. So technology and religion and past and present working side by side. Okay, so here in Orient, you will not only find progress, but also you will find the past working side by side as well. Okay, so another thing, first of all, we see the airport manager. So the airport manager, they narrate about Chang, and when they ask that they want to go to the place, the airport manager, he asks, would it be indiscreet to ask the reason why you wish to go up there? He cannot ask it directly that why do you want to go up there? He said, আপনার এটা বলতে আপত্তি নেই তো কেন আপনারা যেতে চান? Maybe as if he is giving an option that you may say, you may not say. So these are the leftovers of the colonial past. Whenever we see an European, even if I am holding an administrative post, I will hesitate to ask them directly. Okay, and next you look, walking on the road, তোরা তো এত রাস্তায় যাস, কেউ বাঁশের মুঠে নিয়ে যাচ্ছে, কারোর সঙ্গে তোদের এখনো পর্যন্ত ধাক্কা লেগেছে কি? দুটো লোক রাস্তা দিয়ে হেঁটে যাচ্ছে, সামনের দিকে তাকিয়ে গেলে কখনো এইরকম ধাক্কা কি লাগে? লাগে না। লুক, ধাক্কা লাগছে এখানে, as if এইটাই যেন এখানকার রাস্তা, লোকে ধাক্কাধাক্কি করে চলে, and people ignore the other people on the road. Okay, and the thing is that just look at this depiction. Wake up, you milkmaid, and look where you are going. The first thing is that this man was carrying fruits and vegetables. The problem was that he was in front and those people behind them had a crush with his pole. Whose problem is that? The problem is of the man who was coming from behind. And now the same man, by revolt of being a European, can say anything to him. Wake up, you milkman, and then look where you are going. And look, what this man is saying is unfathomable. And I think Haj is trying to depict that this man is using a slang. Because in the next comment section, you can use that this dialog box is written in Hindi. And whereas these are in symbols, we know when we use star, asterisk, such symbols, when we use slang. So directly, Haj is questioning the cultural modesty of the Orient, and in this case, the people in Nepal. Next, again, he is colliding with another person carrying a very big load, and again he is shouting every type of slangs he knows. Billions of blistering barnacles and thundering typhoon. You did that on purpose, you king of Bashi bazooks. So think about this. You did that on purpose. So this is the thing. This is the representation that he is a rich European and these are poor Nepalis. So that's where Orientalism comes into question. That when this book will go and reach to the Europeans, how they will have impression regarding the society in Nepal. That these people এরা পায়ে পা দিয়ে ঝগড়া করে, এরা স্ল্যাং ইউজ করে। ওকে, আমরা ইউরোপিয়ান অনেক বেশি সিভিলাইজড, এরা কেন আমাদের সঙ্গে গায়ে ধাক্কা লাগাচ্ছে, এটা ওদের দোষ। And now suddenly this man shouting, sir, क्या चीज देखे नहीं सामने क्या है। तो যদিও খুব মজা মনে হয় যে yes, Captain Haddock is facing someone of his own credibility or of his own level. ও যত জোরে চেল্লাবে আর একজন যত জোরে চেল্লাবে। But the interesting thing is that क्या जी देख के नहीं सामने क्या है। और परे, look at just behind him, there are three symbols. These are representations of slang. So doesn't it mean? Whereas you can say that whatever slangs are given to Captain Haddock, they can be written. And there are no, practically there are no quote unquote slang words. There are no quote unquote bad words. But these words are muted. This man has written, you look, kya ji dekhte nahi samne kya hai. This portion is written in words, not the rest of the part, as if like you have seen in present day movies, beep. বলে না beep করে দাও, like mute করে দাও. So these words are muted. Why these words are muted? As if they are slang. So look how the people in the Orient, people in the East are being represented. The people of the West. That is the Orient, that is the concept of Orientalism comes into question. That's where Edward Said criticizes that why do you always represent the East from that perspective? Why don't you represent the proper cultural enigma of the East, proper cultural values of the East? You never represent that. The next thing is about food habit. Like eating red chili and shouting fire. So you can see, or the food habit, that the food habit of the Orient is also problematic. You cannot just go and you cannot just test it. It will be very bad in mouth. So these are the things I find very interesting, that still Hajj could not, at that time, India was a free country, and Nepal, being a very small country, was very much dependent on India as well as the Europeans. So therefore, a dependent country, almost like a colony. And look at how these people are represented. But very importantly, when Hajj depicts the Tibetan monks, he depicts them in a very different way, Look at this. This is the supreme monk in the pagoda, and he sits in a throne as if like a king. And they are seated in a chair, or you can say a place which is lower than the seat of the monk. So suddenly, somehow, it's very interesting that while Hajj depicts the Tibetans, the Buddhists, rather, his impression about Buddhism is quite high, quite, I would say, quite full of respect, quite full of respect. Look at this. And also, you can see, first of all, these things, the pagan the interesting thing. I was talking about paganism. Look at this. Paganism is something. If you have read Paradise Lost, you can see how paganism is criticized. Paganism is something that the gods and goddesses are represented as devils by the Christians, are as demons, as if the pagan people worship the demons. And in Tibetan Tantric Buddhism, the gods and goddesses are often demonic because they believe that demonic things have certain qualities to heal the world, or in Indian as well as Eastern philosophy, creation is as important as destruction. While we have Vishnu, while we have Brahma who creates and Vishnu who protects, we also have Maheshwar or Rudra who destroys. In Tibetan Tantric Buddhism, there are several gods and goddesses. There are different hierarchies of gods and goddesses, like we have. We have so many deities. And according to the Tibetan, you know, these are, although they look like demons, they are also deities, they are also gods. And they have so many hierarchies, and they solve so many powers. Some protects, some creates, and some destroys. The same thing. And look at how a Christian is reacting to this. Captain Haddock, when he just wakes up after what he has suffered, a senselessness, he is afraid looking at the two idols of the two gods, and look how the idols are depicted. Obviously not this is how the Tibetan gods are, I can assure you of that. One looking like a frog and another one just looking like as if he wants to murder the person. And no Tibetan god wear dress like African tribals. Let me assure you, just to see how Tibetan gods are there. They are somehow they are sometimes very much rageful, but they are beautifully and colorfully represented, and not like this, not like this. আমাদের পাড়ার ওই মানে এই পিশাচের মূর্তি বানায় শিব পুজোর সময় ওই রকম দেখতে লাগে না ওদের. They are so beautifully depicted in the walls of the monastery. Tibetan Tantric Buddhism এর মূর্তির থেকে অনেক বেশি important monastery ওয়ালে পেইন্টিং করা. These are not properly depicted, but somehow, and if you look, if you ever have been to any monastery, it is not what the inside of a monastery looks like. The inside of a monastery is gorgeous, generally made of wood, not stones. And they're gorgeous, they're colorful. You do not know. These type of white walls are not the features of monasteries. Okay. Let me show you. If I think because I'm with my laptop. Let me show you. I can show you this PC. Where are my photographs? Let me show you. Let me show you a monastery in Darjeeling. Okay. If you are interested, will you want to see it or not? First tell me. দেখবি না দেখবি না? না দেখতে চাইলে বল, আমি পড়াচ্ছি।
দেখবো।
দেখবি? দাঁড়া, মনাস্ট্রির ছবি ভেতরে কেমন হয় দেখাচ্ছি তোকে। Okay, so first look at this. This is one of the Buddhist pagodas in Darjeeling. It's a very interesting one. So you can see this. দেখতে পাচ্ছিস? Hello?
হ্যাঁ স্যার,
Yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ স্যার
This,
দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
so
Actually,
look at this. This is how this is how a Buddhist shrine look like, you know. Okay, and now let us go inside a monastery. Yeah, yeah. Look at the gate. This is the gate. This is how a monastery is built, you know. And this is not a modern monastery. This is a 300 or 400-year-old monastery. So this is, look at the gorgeous colorfulness of the gates. Okay. And look at how the gods and goddesses are represented. Let me show you. Look at this. Are they look fearful? I do not think so. Yeah, you look at this. This has fear in his face, but not like that. The representation is not like as hard as it. This is the god. You look at this. This is the god, and inside of the monastery is mostly made of wood. They do not be white in color. You know. Look at this. This is how the monastery looks from outside. Look. Look at the walls. Just look at the walls. Let me zoom it for you. Look at the walls. How these drawings, how the gods and goddesses are represented. Look at this. Look at this. This is what it is like. Okay. So look at this picture. This is a Tibetan god. Okay, this is a Tibetan, this is a Buddhist tantric god. But look at the representation, how colorful it is. So when you will look at it, okay, you will sense that there is fear in the face, there is anger in the face. But the representation is so gorgeous, so beautiful. Look at this too. So whenever you will see this, you will find that what are the difference, what are actuality and what are the representation. So do you look at the costume of this god, at the dress of this god? Do you think যেটা ওখানে দেখানো হয়েছে তার সঙ্গে এর কোনো ম্যাচ আছে? Look at this. This is very important. You know, this I want to say. This god, or rather this god, you look. This is the male Saraswati. You know, look, he is playing a veena. And look at the attire. You never can find that this attire can be matched to that which have been represented there. Okay. Then look at the inside of a monastery. Do you think অত ওই রকম যেটা ওখানে দেখিয়েছে ওই রকম মনাস্ট্রির ভেতরটা হয় না, you know? This is the inside of a monastery. Okay, this is the inside of a monastery. Just look at this, how gorgeous it is. And there, yeah, this thing is look at this thing. Here you can see this is the chair of the head lama, and here everyone sit. এই একটা জিনিসই ঠিকঠাক দেখিয়েছে যে বাকি যারা বসে তারা নিচে বসে এরকম ম্যাট্রেসে, বাট উপরে হেড লামা সিংহাসনে বসে। বাট লুক অ্যাট দ্য ইনসাইড। আমি যত মনাস্ট্রি দেখেছি তার ভেতরটা এরকম উডেন হয়, এইরকম ওয়াল গুলো এত সুন্দর করে ডেপিক্ট করা থাকে, ছবি আঁকা থাকে। ওকে, এটা কিন্তু কখনো বাদ যায়নি। And these are the lamas. ওকে, এটা তোরা হয়তো ভাববি যে স্যার একটা মনাস্ট্রি দেখালো, অন্য মনাস্ট্রি গুলো তো অন্যরকম হতেই পারে। সো লেট আস গো টু অ্যানাদার অ্যালবাম। ওখানে আরো একটা মনাস্ট্রি দেখাই যেটা আরেকটু কাছাকাছি আছে। কি এখানে? ইয়া, ফার্স্ট আমি তোদের একটা সুন্দর জিনিস দেখাই। when I visited Changu Lake there, বরফ পেয়েছিলাম, সেটা তোদেরকে একটু দেখাই, ক্লাসের ফাঁকে একটু শেয়ার করে নি। দিস ইজ হোয়াট উই স, দিস ইজ হোয়াট উই স। জাস্ট সি দিস। এটা এগুলো এগুলো মানে কেন দেখানো, তোদের ইন্সপায়ার করা, যে চাকরি বাকরি করে নিজেরাও এইরকম জায়গায় যাও টাকা পয়সা জোগাড় করে। ওয়াচ ইট, ওয়াচ নেচার, what it can do. So look at this, এইরকম বরফ পেয়েছি আমরা। যাই হোক, so let us go to the monastery যেটা আমরা দেখছি। So where is the monastery? Yeah, look at this. This is one of the. It is in Sikkim, Peling rather, and it is one of the oldest monasteries. So look at the building. Look at the gate. So what has happened to this? Look at the gate. Look at how these are the pictures, these are the idols that you can see, and you can always understand যেটা দেখানো হয়েছে এখানে সেই রকম মোটেও মনাস্ট্রি গুলোর অবস্থা নয়। মনাস্ট্রি গুলোর ভেতরে গডস এন্ড গডেসের রিপ্রেজেন্টেশনটা খুব অন্যরকম। সো যদি সেটা দেখাতে পারি তাহলে বুঝতে পারবি হাউ রিচ দ্য শ্রাইন অফ তারা ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। তারা মায়ের কথা আমরা বলি, বাট দ্য মোস্ট অ্যানশিয়েন্ট মেনশন অফ তারা ইজ ফাউন্ড ইন tantric Tibetan religion, tantric Tibetan Buddhism. Tara is their Devi. Tara is the mother goddess. Okay, look at this. This is Tara. Tara is the mother goddess, who is also black, dark, like ours. Okay, and look, there is the Mahakal on his head, just how we place Shiva on the head of Tara. Okay, so this is very important. So this is Tara. Okay, this is there are two gods and goddesses. I cannot just tell you the name, but look at this, almost like our Shiva and Parvati. We know this mudra very well, the Shiv Parvati mudra, Milan. So look at this. These are the gods and goddesses of Tantric Tibetanism. This is Tara Devi. So you can see যেভাবে ওখানে দেখানো হয়েছে সেইভাবে রিপ্রেজেন্টেশনটা হয় না। Look at this. Look at this. This is almost like this god belonged to Tantric Tibetanism. And look at his attire. This is our Mahakal. This is our Shiva. Look at his attire. বাকছাল পরে ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছে। And almost আমাদের শিবের মতো ভুঁড়ি টুড়ি সব আছে। So this is how this is the representation, the colorful representation. ওই রকম যেরকম ওখানে দেখিয়েছে, যেটা দেখে আমাদের মনে হবে look, Jataka stories, the stories of Buddhas, they are also depicted there. And look at inside of this monastery also. This is also so gorgeously decorated, so gorgeously decorated. Okay, so look at this gods and goddesses. This is Tathagata Buddha. This is Amitabha Buddha. These are several other forms of Buddha. But I would just like to show you the inside of a monastery, because this is what Orientalism is. The misrepresentation. This is the Tibetan goddess with three heads. The Tibetan god, what we say when we have brought him in our Hindu religion, we have called him Mahakal. And look, he has this goddess on his lap, the Parvati. So we have this everything so enriched these religions that we often just borrow from one another. We often borrow from one another. But look at this, the colorfulness of a monastery. The walls, look at how the walls are decorated. Okay, This is a very ancient monastery, and that's why you can see that the walls, the painting on the walls have already started fading. Uh, okay, so just these are. I think it was good for you to watch. So if you see this, can you match it with this ambience? Can you match it with this ambience? I think you cannot. Look at this, how it is represented there. Uh, so that's what I say, the misrepresentation. মনাস্ট্রি টিবেটানিজমকে দেখাতে গিয়ে এখানে কিন্তু খুব সিম্পলিস্টিক ওয়েতে দেখিয়েছে মঙ্করা অ্যাটায়ার পরে বসে আছে। জেনারেলি মঙ্করা এরকম কালারফুল অ্যাটায়ার পরে না, যে ওয়ার অ্যাটায়ার উইচ ইজ কালার্ড রেড, এরকম ইয়েলো, মানে জাস্ট এটাকে দেখিয়ে দিচ্ছে যে এরা এরকম কম্বলের মতো ড্রেস গায়ে দিতে ভালোবাসে। বাট প্র্যাকটিক্যালি the concept they are missing is that the color of their attires are always red. That is what they are missing. Or sometimes orange at a higher rank, but not any other color. But এখানে যেটা দেখাচ্ছে এরকম রামধনুর রঙের এক একজন এক একটা কালারের অ্যাটায়ার পরে আছে। It's not that. You will never find a monk wearing this type of cap. এরকম টুপি পরেও কোনো মঙ্ককে তুই এখানে পাবি না। ওকে, তো দিজ আর দ্য মিসরিপ্রেজেন্টেশনস, যেটা কিন্তু জিনিসটাকে অনেক খেলো করে দিচ্ছে। লুক অ্যাট দ্য ওয়ালস, এগুলো ঠিকঠাক নয়, পেছনের ছবিগুলো একদমই ঠিকঠাক নয়। সব থেকে বড় কথা, যে গর্জিয়াস কাজ থাকে মনাস্ট্রি গুলোর ভেতরে, দ্যাট ইজ হার্ডলি রিপ্রেজেন্টেড। That is the thing I want to focus upon, the misrepresentation. Obviously এখানে একটা জিনিস হার্জ করেছে, what he has done is that Harj has always depicted the Tibetan monks as helpful. Harj has always depicted the Tibetan monks as or having powerful capabilities of doing magic. But the representation, according to me, was not ideal, was not that rich what they had been. Because অত রিচ করে যদি এদের অ্যানশিয়েন্ট কালচারটাকে রিপ্রেজেন্ট করা হয়, তাহলে অনেক ইউরোপিয়ানরা এই কালচার গুলোকে সুপিরিয়র মেনে নেবে, বোঝা গেল। বাট দ্য থিং ইজ দ্যাট দ্য ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং থিং রিগার্ডিং হার্জ রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন অ্যাবাউট Tibetan Buddhism, I do not know whether Harj has any interest in Buddhism. Practically, one thing was interesting is that at that time Harj was going through a very important moral crisis. The moral crisis was that Harj was a devout Christian, and according to Christianity, you must be loyal to only one woman in life, or Mohila hole, you must be loyal to one man in life. But at that time, Harj was going through a crisis. Although he was having a peaceful married life, he was attracted to one of his colleagues. And at last, he gave divorce to his earlier wife and married this new woman. And at this, being a devout Christian, Harj was really in a dilemma, and he thought that he could not save his soul, but Tintin should. And that's why Tintin had to save his friend Chang, who is in distress, as if Harj himself was trying to save his soul. And in that process of purification, maybe Buddhism, which always speaks of spiritual purity, spiritual freedom and spiritual purity, আমার মনে হয় কোথাও গিয়ে হার্জকে ওটা খুব ইন্টারেস্ট দেখিয়েছিল, or Harj became interested in Buddhism because এটা স্পিরিচুয়ালি একটা মানুষকে কোথাও গিয়ে পিউরিফিকেশনের কথা বলে, ঠিক আছে। and that's why while he depicted these people, obviously the cultural heritageটাকে অতটা গর্জিয়াসলি দেখায়নি, but যেটা দেখিয়েছে that these Buddhist people, they connect with nature, they can do magical things, and he termed it as white magic, almost, if you read it, while the Indian, he could play the trick with the rope. I must say that the rope trick is one of the most famous Indian magics. এটা বলা হয় সবাই করতে পারে না। ইউরোপ থেকে হুডিনি পর্যন্ত, হুডিনি was a famous magician in Europe. He wanted to learn this, but he could not master the rope trick. And হার্শ কিন্তু সিম্বলিক্যালি ওই রোপ ট্রিকটাকেই এখানে ম্যাজিক হিসেবে দেখাচ্ছে, and রোপ ট্রিকটাকে ব্ল্যাক ম্যাজিক হিসেবে দেখাচ্ছে because it has been used in the wrong way. On the other hand, Tibetan Buddhism এর ম্যাজিকটাকে, the magic of the Lama, who can just look at this, the magic of this Lama who can elevate himself into air and who can uh, tell the future, who can make prophecy. This is the kind of magic he can do, and this magic has been said to be one which is God gifted or accidental. That is the very important thing. The Indian magician was doing magic, becoming aware of this, almost heard suggesting that this is not a magic but a trick. And here, this one, Hart suggests that this is a God gifted thing. This is something which he has achieved and he is not aware of. Therefore, it is magic. It is not trick. Okay, therefore, it is magic. It is not trick. And that's how it becomes a white magic, because he doesn't use it to help those who will go against the colonizers, rather use it to save the life or friendship of one who is, or at which the reason of a white person is involved. Here, this magic is used to help a white man. Whereas in Cigar of Pharaoh, the magic was used to, or the magic was used against the colonizers. Therefore, that was a bad magic, and this one is a white magic. Okay, so this is how there is a politics in white magic, a salient underlying politics in calling this white magic. Okay, so I hope you can understand how Orientalism, or the representation of the East, is practically a very important thing regarding this. Okay, regarding this, I hope you can understand. I think এটা তোরা বুঝেছিস এতক্ষণের কথায় যে জিনিসটা কি দাঁড়িয়েছে। হ্যালো, বুঝেছিস তো রে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বুঝেছি।
তাহলে এই ক্লাসটায় মোটামুটি তোমরা বুঝলে যে ওরিয়েন্টালিজম বলো বা রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন অফ দ্য ইস্ট এই নোভেলে কিভাবে করা হয়েছে। আই থিঙ্ক এইটা তোমরা বুঝেছো, এইটাই আজকের ক্লাসের পারপাস। নেক্সট ক্লাসে আমরা চলে যাব ফ্রেন্ডশিপের কনসেপ্টে, ঠিক আছে? হ্যাঁ, নেক্সট ক্লাসে আমরা চলে যাব ফ্রেন্ডশিপের কনসেপ্টে। আজকে এই অবধি থাক। ওকে, সো আমি এটা রেকর্ডিংটা স্টপ করে দিলাম।